Good evening, everyone. Dr. Patmos again, and I have another video. It's a busy night. This is the second video tonight. But this video is at the request of one of my very dear friends and followers who requested that I review the credentials of the two physicians who were just appointed to the CDC ACIP by Robert F. Kennedy just the other day. And so I've done that. I've researched these doctors, looked at their resumes, their background, their training, and then asked the question, are these doctors qualified to be on the ACIP? That's the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. So let me tell you who these doctors are. The first one is Dr. Farella, Angelina Farella. Dr. Farella has got legitimate credentials. She has a bachelor's degree from Rutgers, I believe. She went to the Ross University School of Medicine, which is an offshore Caribbean medical school. And frankly, I mean, you can get a good education. I mean, medical school provides you with vocabulary. Your real training occurs after medical school. But basically, offshore Caribbean medical schools are fine. And I'm not disparaging them. But basically, who goes there? You go there if you can't get into a U.S. medical school. Let's be honest about it. That's why people go to Ross. Anyhow, she went to Ross. She came back and she got a pediatric residency in Texas, and she's been a practicing pediatrician for a number of years. Looking at her practice profile, she has a private practice, and she does some sketchy stuff like IV therapy. It's really popular now, IV therapy. I mean, the reality is who do we treat with IVs? You give people intravenous fluids when they can't take by mouth. And that's usually reserved for people with dehydration and, serious diseases, cancer and so forth who need hydration. But this is not what this is. These drip clinics, these IV drip clinics, which are kind of a gimmick where people go in and they lay down there and they feel like they're getting something, they get vitamins infused. It's all silliness and unnecessary. So apparently she does that in her practice. The main thing I noticed, about her background is that she does not appear to be board certified by the American Board of Medical Specialties. She is board certified by this other alternative board, which is a fake board, but she's not a board certified. Does not appear to be, from what I can find, a board certified pediatrician. The other thing that's important about her background is that there's no academic track record. She doesn't hold any significant faculty appointments. She's had two clinical faculty appointments, but as I've told you many times, clinical or adjunct faculty, those are courtesy appointments. They're not real faculty appointments. So you shouldn't ever label that as an assistant professor. That's a clinical faculty appointment. I know, I've had three of them. They're not true faculty appointments. They're honors. It's very nice to have one. It's usually a little gift that a hospital or medical school will give you in recognition of your voluntary teaching. These are uncompensated positions, these adjunct positions. They're not real faculty appointments. So she has these two adjunct positions. But other than that, there's no genuine academic rank here. There's no significant academic position. She's not a professor. And then if you look at the publication background and the research background, there's none. She has absolutely no research background at all. She has no publications. She is a private practice, practicing pediatrician in Texas. And that's what she does. And she's also part of the America's Frontline Doctors, which is this wacko group of doctors who are anti-vax that came out when COVID first came out, and they made all kinds of wild recommendations about not getting vaccinated and so forth. So that's Dr. Farella. The bottom line is, how does she compare to the typical physicians who end up on and historically have been appointed to the ACIP? Well, historically, to be on the ACIP, you need to be a major academic expert, professor somewhere, usually with a fellowship trained in infectious diseases, with additional graduate work, master's degree or PhD in epidemiology, and significant background in vaccine research, vaccine development. Remember, what is the CDC? The CDC is a disease surveillance monitoring organization that also mobilizes resources when there are pandemics. It's mostly about infectious diseases. That's what most diseases are, infectious diseases. So, the CDC, to really be trained and qualified for CDC, you need to be an infectious disease doctor or have a very strong background in infectious diseases. And this doctor doesn't have any background in infectious disease. She's not a fellowship trained infectious disease doctor. She is a neighborhood practicing pediatrician. That's great. We need neighborhood practicing pediatricians, but that doesn't qualify her to advise the rest of the country on what to do about immunization. The next doctor is Dr. Sean Downing, also well-trained physician. He trained at Georgetown. He has done both internal medicine. He did an internal medicine and peds residency, which is great. Great, that's excellent. Tip my hat to him for doing a combined internal IM peds residency. And he also has a master's degree in physiology, which I have, which I thought that was great. That's fantastic. It's good that he has that credential. But that's it. There's no academic track record as a faculty. There's no track record of research. There's no fellowship in infectious diseases, no training in epidemiology. There's really nothing there that prepares him to be on the CDC ACIP. He is a practicing internal medicine peds physician, and his practice is a concierge practice. So what is that? Well, a concierge practice is, it's a lot of doctors hate dealing with insurance companies because they get a lot of denials, because either they don't know how to submit correct medical records when they request a prior authorization, or they're requesting stuff that's unnecessary, so they get denied. Personally, when I was in practice, I was never denied by insurance. I never had a denial by an insurance company, never, not once. I don't know why. I think it's because I'd never ordered anything that was inappropriate or unnecessary. And whenever I ordered something, I always provided a thorough, complete, total documentation as to why the patient needed it, citing guidelines and research. So I never was denied. So a lot of doctors get denials because they don't attach the records, or they're requesting stuff that's not necessary. That's why they get denied. Well, a lot of doctors don't like dealing with insurance companies. They don't like denials because I guess they don't know how to upload documents. And so they have gone into this concierge medicine. Now, with concierge medicine, it sounds all well and good. What they do is they charge patients a upfront monthly or annual fee, and it's usually quite substantial. You have to sort of be in an affluent area. It's really skimming the cream at the top of the socioeconomic profile to get wealthy people who can afford to pay a doctor an annual premium. And what do they get for this annual premium? They get access to you. They can call up the doctor whenever they want. The doctor will make house calls. The doctor will see them. The interesting thing is that what the doctor orders may or may not be covered by their insurance policy. So they may still have to go, like, for example, if a concierge doctor orders an MRI and he's not, contracted with the patient's health plan, that MRI may be denied because it's an out-of-network doctor. So being a concierge doctor is sort of a luxury sort of practice, a skimming the cream of the crop kind of practice. I was approached many times to join, concierge practices or start a concierge practice. And I thought about it, but I just couldn't do it. I mean, to me, being a physician means taking care of the poorest of the poor, the sickest of the sick, not skimming, not like hanging out in front of a wealthy hospital and catching patients as their Rolls Royce pulls up. That's kind of like how I view concierge medicine. In any case, this doctor, Dr. Downing, also like Dr. Farella, has no background to prepare him for being on the ACIP. He's not an infectious disease doctor. There's no fellowship in infectious diseases. He's not a microbiologist. He's not an immunologist. No background in vaccine development. No publication. No academic track record. No academic pedigree at all. He's a private practice local doctor. That's good. That's great. There's nothing wrong with being that. It's just that being a local private practice doctor doesn't give you the qualifications to be advising the country on what vaccines people should take. It's a mismatch of qualifications. Let me just kind of give you an analogy. Being on the ACIP is like being an experienced pilot of a jet fighter airplane. You have to be highly skilled. It's a very specific technical skill set. You can't take somebody who's never flown an airplane and put him behind the controls of a fighter jet. Well, that's kind of like you've got people here who've never been involved in vaccine research or infectious diseases, and you're putting them in a position where that they don't have the credentials for. They were selected probably because they have been outspoken critics of vaccines, and that's why Robert Kennedy selected them. And so he's populating the ACIP to try to get the outcome that he wants, which is to diminish, destroy the use of vaccines in this country. His committee is comprised almost entirely of unqualified people. Dr. Malone, for example, who is the vice chair, has 1 year of pathology internship. That's it. He has never completed a residency, is not board certified, is not a pathologist, not an infectious disease doctor, not an immunologist. He is a 1 year pathology intern with experience doing laboratory research and claims to be a vaccine expert, although there's not a single vaccine anywhere in the world in use that he developed. So that's what we have on the ACIP. We have people who are not trained and credentialed in there's one doctor, Dr. Meisner, who is on the ACIP, who is an infectious disease doctor, but he's one of, like, I don't know, 12 or 14, 16 people on the committee. So whatever he votes, it'd be just outvoted by all the others. And then we have the chairman, Dr. Milhon, who is a cardiologist and has no training in infectious diseases and is not a vaccine expert. So basically what we've got is the ACIP is now populated with completely unqualified people, except for one. Basically, the whole committee is unqualified, and you know what they're going to come out with. They're going to come out with recommendations that discourage and diminish the importance and the use and the role of vaccines. Because Robert Kennedy is at his core a committed, delusional anti-vaxxer, and he's doing everything he can to destroy vaccination in this country. And we know, I'm a board certified internal medicine physician with added qualifications in infection control and hospital epidemiology. We know what happens when you diminish vaccination. Resurgence of infectious contagious diseases returns, as is happening all across the country now. It's why we have thousands of cases of measles. We shouldn't have any. We should have zero. We've got thousands of cases of measles, and some of those people with measles are going to get encephalitis and never recover. And so here's where we are today. We're continuing to see this parade of unqualified people. Now, some of them actually go away, thank God. Dr. Abraham, who was appointed by Robert Kennedy to be, I think, number 2 in charge at CDC, a doctor from Louisiana. He's a veterinarian, went to medical school, did 1 year of internship. That's it. No residency, no fellowship, no board certification, no board eligibility. Totally unqualified. Ended up, at the number 2 role at CDC. He's out. He left a couple weeks ago for family reasons, probably because he was completely overmatched for the. He has no qualifications. You can't put people in positions that they're not qualified for, and that's what we're seeing across the board in the Trump administration. None of the physicians that have been appointed, I'm talking about Makari, Bhattacharya, Oz, Prasad, none of them have the qualifications necessary for the roles they are in. They're perfectly fine, doctors, and they have good qualifications. It's a mismatch. It's just a mismatch. You can't put someone who's never flown an airplane in the cockpit of a fighter jet. It's just not going to work. So we need people who are trained in the disciplines that are necessary to properly evaluate vaccines and make these recommendations, not unqualified people. And oh, by the way, I cannot find evidence that either of these doctors are board certified. And let me tell you what board certificate, you get board certified by the American Board of Medical Specialties. So if you're an internal medicine doctor, it's the American Board of Internal Medicine. If you're a pediatrician, it's the American Board of Pediatrics, and so on and so forth. Although you don't have to be board certified, the reality is you barely can't work anywhere except in the middle of nowhere if you're not board certified. Most hospitals, you can't even get privileges at a hospital, and certainly not at any reputable, significant medical center. You really can't even get clinical privileges unless you're board certified. So I don't see that these doctors are board certified. Maybe they are. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't found evidence that they're board certified. So we've got non-board certified doctors who are local neighborhood doctors now making decisions for the rest of the country about vaccines. It just makes no sense at all. It's very dangerous, and it's just it's just bad policy to put people in positions that they're not qualified for. Have a good evening.